Hi, this is Patrick, and we will be performing a tutorial on how to install Linux on a Windows-based system via Dualboot. So first off, we would need to download two things. So that is the Linux Mint ISO or the disk image file, and also the USB Universal Installer. So the USB Universal Installer is actually the ones which converts our USB into a live USB or disk, so we can boot through the USB with Linux. So I will also provide the download links down below, and you can go to the website linuxmint.com. You can see that there are different versions. Since I'm using a 64-bit operating system, then I will be downloading the Cinnamon version. It is quite similar to Windows. It has a taskbar, and in order for you to know which operating system you are using, you just need to go to search, then type in dxdiag. Then there you can see your operating system if you are using 64-bit or 32-bit. And once you click on that, it will show you mirrors or download links. You can choose the one which is closer to you, so you can download it faster. But I already pre-downloaded the software. Here it's around almost 1.9 gigabytes. And also you would need to download the Universal USB Installer. This is the download link. You can just click on it. So once that's done, you will have these two files, right? You can go ahead and run this software. There will be a prompt. You need to click on yes. Click on I agree. And as you can see on step 1, you need to select a distribution. What we will be using is Linux Mint, so choose that one. And on this option, browse, you need to browse the Linux Mint or that you have downloaded. And you need to have a USB plug-in. So this is my USB, and choose the option FAT32 format. So this will format the USB into a FAT32 format, and click on create. Now in this option you need to click on yes, but for me I will go ahead and click on no because I already performed this operation, and it takes quite around 5 minutes for it to be fully installed into your USB. Now once that's done, you need to create a partition for your Linux. You need to just search for partition, and you will be directed to your disk management. So this is where you have to be cautious. You need to have free space. Usually for installing Linux Mint you need under 10 gigabytes, but I will be using 40 gigabytes for me. So I will have more space at my disposal for downloading and keeping files. Now I will be using my D drive. I have 278 gigabytes of space. Just right click on it and shrink volume. So there, as you can see, enter the amount of space to shrink in MB. So this is around 45 gigabytes, 44,973 MB. So that's how much I will shrink it. Click on shrink. Okay. So as you can see, I have 43.92 gigabytes of unallocated data. This is where I will be installing my Linux Mint. Now once we have that, we need to go to boot into live USB mode. So for this process, the next one we would need to do is restart the computer, and we need to have the USB which we converted or installed with Linux Mint to be plugged in, and there will be an option for us to choose. It depends on your computer. For me it would be Escape. It allows me to choose which will I will be booting. Now this is either through Windows Boot Manager or UEFI. So when I choose the option for UEFI, that allows me to boot through Linux. I'll go ahead and restart the computer. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, in order for us to go to select boot device, you need options to press on your laptop or computer. So it actually depends. For me, it would be escape. So I just need to choose the second option. Then you can see there, I can already start Linux Mint. So I'll go ahead and do that one so we could proceed with the installation. So it may take a couple of minutes for it to fully boot up. Just need to wait on that. And once that's done, we will see the option that we can install Linux Mint. Okay, now we're back and you can see there's an option for here to install Linux Mint. Go ahead and choose that option. And we need to choose which language we will be installing the operating system. So I will be using English. And for the keyboard layout, I'll also be using English. Now you can see there are some parameters here. Install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, Flash, MP3, and other media. So I need actually Wi-Fi hardware for me to be able to connect through Wi-Fi on my Linux Mint. So, and also, installing third-party requires turning off Secure Boot. So we need to tick this turn off Secure Boot and we need to choose a security key. So this is the one we enter when the system restarts. So I'll go ahead and put in my password. Just put in a good password that something you will surely never forget. Continue. So it's just taking quite a while for it to load up. So for the next part, it will be the most important part of the installation. So it would actually be where to install our Linux Mint. As mentioned before, so we prepared a partition. The one which I made is around 45 gigabytes. So that is so we can dual boot Windows and Linux. So Windows is already installed here, and we'll be preparing a partition for Linux Mint. So we just need to wait for the installation time since it's waiting quite a while. So for this part, we would actually need to prepare the partition. This is the most important part of the whole installation. You can see there are some options. And we would need to choose something else so we can create and resize the partitions ourselves. Since what we did earlier, we made a partition of 45 gigabytes and we will need to manage that partition. Alright, so on this option, we would need to look for the free space, and if you can see there are two free spaces, or rather three, but this is the one that we made a partition with, so it's around 47 gigabytes. So we need to click this, the plus sign. Now here, we would need to choose the size of the root or the root directory. So I will be using around 15 gigabytes, or I'll use 17 gigabytes. Right, so it should be, the type of partition should be logical and use as ext for journaling file system, and the mount point would be slash or the root directory. Click on OK. Okay, so the root directory partition is now done. Now we need to go back to free space. So it still have 30 gigabytes. you need to click on plus again. And now we would need to choose the option for our swap area. So use as swap area. Now since I have 8 gigabytes of RAM, so I will choose 8 gigabytes for my swap area. So this actually depends for the swap area. If you have around 2 gigabytes you can use of RAM, you can use 2 gigabytes. If you have around 4 gigabytes you can use 4 gigabytes. So if you have 6 gigabytes to 8 gigabytes, you need to use the size of your RAM. And if you have more than 8 gigabytes, you need to be using half the size of your RAM or less. Now go ahead and click on OK. This will now allow us to set up the partition for the swap area. Alright, so now for our swap area it's already done, and we have 22 gigabytes of remaining free space. Now this option, we will be allocating this one for our home. So same thing. The remaining would be through mount point is home. Click on OK. Alright, so the allocation of data has now been completed for both our room, our swap, root, swap, and home. So once all of those three are done, we can go ahead and click on install now. So in order to check that, you can see here, this is for our root, it's for 17.1 gigabytes. For our swap it's 8 gigabytes, and the remaining one would be for our home. So these three things are the ones which we did allocate. Click on install now. Now this will be the changes, the one which we made earlier. Click on continue. Now this would be our location, so you just need to click the location. So I'm here in the Philippines, I'll choose Manila, and your name and your computer's name. So you need to put a password and also a username. And require password to log in, and do not encrypt your home folder, as this may cause some issues when when you're encrypting your home folder, and you may require to reformat all of your drives. Okay, so good password there. So a good password would require numeric and also upper and lowercase letters. So once that's done, it's actually almost the main hurdle. You just need to choose some additional options, and you will have Linux installed on your computer. So thank you so much. That's the end of the video, and hopefully you are able to get through all of the steps easily as well. Thank you so much.